Hey, what's going on out there, you guys? It's your girl, Pretty Sexy Java Rand, aka Stunner Assassin, and your girl is coming to you with another review slash recap of Bell Collective Season 7, Episode 4, which is titled Group Carry. Baby, I can't wait to get into Episode 4 of Season 7. I know things are finna get juicy and really pick up with our Bells in the collective. So yes. As we open up with the collective, baby, we are with our girl, Miss Letitia Pierce. And baby, we are picking up on the conversation that she was having with her husband in episode 3, continuing episode 4, Group Carry. And baby, let's just say it's still picking up from when her husband got up, walked out of the house after them having the conversation of her telling him that she wants to be celibate and him feeling like she's saying she doesn't want to sleep with her husband anymore. And he gets up and he gets in the truck and she's calling, trying to have a conversation with him, trying to explain. And then we hear a little bit from her husband saying that, he can't do this again because the last time this almost killed him. And just this back and forth and her acting like she don't want him and acting like she want to be single. And, they both expressed that neither one of them listens to each other and that this can't go on in their relationship. And I think it's very interesting to see, but also this is where they are now in their marriage. And I know sometimes things can get a little difficult and conversations can be hard, but I don't think her saying that she wants to protect her energy was anything negative or the cause for him to just leave. Me personally. So y'all. As we get into our next scene, baby, it is our girl, Miss Carrie, and she is pulling up to her lovely home in Biloxi. And we see her husband out by the pool, cleaning the pool, and she comes out with mocktail and water, and she's just asking him like which one do he want. And come to find out, our girl Miss Carrie has actually been promoting Brick and Spoon at her local news station in Gulf on the Gulf Coast. And baby, she said she has to fill her husband in on the tea and the drama that happened at Selena's party. Now she did fill in her mom and dad, but she said now it's time to fill in her husband because, you know, it was a lot of tea happening that night. And she didn't really get to talk to him about it. And now we finna hear like how things were. And Miss Carrie does express that, it started off a little light, and then the next thing you know, it became a cyclone, a hurricane, baby. It went from a 1 to a 5 amongst Miss Latrice and Miss Letitia. And baby, she wasn't expecting that, but they say why having this conversation amongst the collective, and I mean not amongst the collective but amongst themselves about the collective. Her husband does give sound advice, about how things should be handled. Maybe that the ladies could come together and talk about it, and which I believe gives Miss Carrie an idea to have something from the ladies all together. So yes. As we get into our next scene, y'all, our ladies are meeting up at Shaggy's, which is a restaurant here in Mississippi over the reservoir. And baby, our first lady to arrive is Miss Selena, and Miss Selena shares that Miss Carrie called her and saying that she wants to have an invite or girls' day with the collective. Now she did not include all of the collective, but she knows some of the ladies are joining, and by Miss Selena arriving first, she's gonna see who else is coming along for the ride of the party. So when she gets inside the restaurant, of course, she gets her menu water. And then our next bill to arrive is Dr. Marie Monroe. And after her, it is Miss Tamara Cherie. And baby, as the ladies are sitting down waiting on Miss Carrie to pull up, our girl finally comes in and she goes around the table, gives hugs, and shows love. And she tells Miss Marie, "Oh, sis, you look very demure." Now, this back and forth that they have is kind of cutesy because it's like, girl, I say this just to, message you, but we cool. And I think it's very nice to see these ladies together. But let's just say we jump on right into the tea in about, two ladies that are missing from the table, which is Miss Letitia and Miss Latrice. And Miss Carrie says, since Selena's party, she has an idea to get the collective back together because things have seemed to got out of control. And it's kind of interesting to see because everybody's like, wait a minute, Miss Carrie, now what make you think you gonna come in here and be able to fix this when guess what? Miss Marie's tried to fix it, Tamara's tried to fix it. They've tried to have multiple conversations, and it's just showing that, hey, there can be a time of change. There can take someone maybe from the outside stepping in. But Tamara says she wishes her the best. Grab your wigs, grab your ponytails. And Selena said, well, we can only hope for the best. And Miss Carey says, it's like a self help care, not like a, telling the girls, you need to change this, you need to change this. And I think that's very positive and very helpful to the collective, just me personally. Yes, 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 you guys. So let's jump into our next scene, and it is our girl, Miss Letitia Pearson. And baby, she is at her office, and as you all know, our girl is a bail bondsman here in the state of Mississippi. And baby, she's going in because she has a little bit of work to do around the city and to check in with her partner and who hired her and got her into bail bondsman. And she has been a bail bondsman since 2014, and she says the importance that comes with the job is like keeping up with the laws, figuring out like court dates and cases and when everything is happening. Not only while she's going into the office today, come to find out our girl Miss Selena is going to be joining her because in 2012 our girl Miss Selena had her bail bondsman license, but life started life and now our girl wants to update, restart, and keep things in the family, which I love to see. While the ladies are having a conversation and Miss Selena is there, then they start talking about Miss Selena's birthday party. Of course, what Miss Carrie got planned for the collective, and our girl Miss Letitia is trying to see like what is it going to consist of. And our girl Selena says, well, she's not really sure. It's probably going to be like some Zen type of situation. But the good thing is, our girl Miss Latrice and Miss Letitia does not have to ride in the same vehicle with one another, but our girl Miss Letitia says she's gonna think about it. And y'all, all I can hope for is the best with the collective. But yes, yes, yes. As we go from that scene to our next scene, baby, it is Miss Carrie husband beating up with Miss Latrice's husband because he tried to set things up for him and Glenn and all three of the men to meet, but that didn't kind of work out. And since he's kind of already had a conversation with Glenn, um, he said this conversation with Cliff, would help that and help the conversation. And so Cliff jumped down to it. He wants to know what happened at the party, like what was the issue, and come to find out, Miss Carrie husband says, he was having a great time. Then next thing you know, when he came out, he seen someone grabbing Glenn, and it was just like a whole bunch of chaos, baby. And Cliff said, "Well, I ain't no Bill. I'm married to a Bill. I don't know if he a Bill or not, but I'm gagging, y'all." As we go from that scene to our next scene. So yes, yes, yes. It is the day of Miss Carrie's group therapy session, and baby, the ladies are on their way to Biloxi. So we catch up with Miss Latrice, Miss Selena, and Miss Tamara Cherie. And while the ladies are sitting in the van waiting to go on the coast, our girl Miss Tamara Cherie our girl Tamara Cherie gets a phone call from one of her family members that they found her dad unresponsive, and as you see, is weighing very heavily on Miss Tamara because we find out that she is a daddy's girl, and literally Miss Latrice and Miss Helena are trying to be there for her, but they let Miss Tamara leave to get back to her family, which is most important, and the other ladies continue to head on down to the Gulf Coast. And that's when we jump to seeing our girl Miss Carrie prepare and preparate everything for the bills. Baby, she got a full layout for the ladies and entree for them to eat. And of course, our first two bills to arrive are Miss Letitia Pierce and Dr. Marie Monroe. They come in, they compliment Miss Carrie on her home, and baby, they're just ready to get the things on the road. But they're trying to see and ask Miss Carrie, like, what is it going to consist of? And then the next thing you know, we get a knock at the door, and it is Miss Latrice and Miss Selena. And Miss Carrie goes and she asks them, where is Miss Tamara? And they share with her about what happened with Miss Tamara's dad. And she says Miss Tamara will definitely be in her prayers. And so we go sit down with the ladies. And of course, they see the sophistic ratchet. Clock it. That's right, Miss Carrie. You better brand your saying in your logo. Period. So, child, while they at Miss Carrie house, we get a knock at the door, and of course, our girl Miss Carrie has invited our, our therapist and relationship speaker and expert to help the collective fix their relationship. And let's just say, when our therapist comes in, she sits down, she introduces herself to the ladies, and we jump right on to the session. And she asks Miss Carrie, like, what is she here to help the group fix or work on? And baby, she says, well, the collective had some issues, and I'm newer to the group, and I just want everybody to kind of get along and work things out. We've had situations, and baby, after she said that, let's just say all of our bills start chiming in, mostly Miss Letitia and Miss Latrice. And they were sharing because, as we know, right now the dynamic is mostly in between those two ladies in the collective. And, we're hearing, we're catching a little shade, we're throwing, and we're putting out. And then that's when our therapist is like, hold on, wait. Y'all ladies getting things up out of hand. Let's get this conversation back to a positive place. Because she says it obviously seems like both of you ladies are very hurt. Our girl Latrice starts to get emotional and cry. And our therapist says, see, you would only be crying because you have feelings, because you still have love in your heart. That's the only reason why both of you ladies would be crying. And baby, to see how the collective is coming in this moment and in this very situation is very, very interesting, I must say, to see. Oh my God, Bill Collective, episode 4, season 7, group carry. Baby, it's been some tea. Y'all, it has been real pretty sexy jar to brand, aka Summer Session. Until next time, you guys, she's out.